Welcome, everybody. We are back for another episode of Geekspiel's Table Crashers. This is episode 32. We are here with game Age of Primes, and Chris Newton is joining us, the creator of the game. Welcome, Chris. Welcome. How are you this fine evening?
Oh, doing fine. Doing fine. Yeah. Thanks for having
me. Thanks for joining us this evening. So I'm going to go through a series of questions as we normally do with Table Crashers. This is a little bit different than normal because this is currently not on Kickstarter. It will be on Kickstarter, hopefully, fingers crossed, first week of October. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, it'll be in October.
Okay. Great. So first thing I want to do is I want to start by complimenting you on your web presence with this game. Many games that I've seen that are on Kickstarter or are prepping and ramping up for Kickstarter, they do the convention tours. They do a lot of the things outside of your the normal flow. But one thing that I've noticed is you have a really solid web presence and an awesome website for this game. Do you want to talk about that?
Thank you. Yeah, that actually surprises me because I thought I wasn't doing good enough. I've been trying to ramp it up, especially this month. The entire month of September is basically a theme month for us.
Okay.
And what we really wanted to do was not only present our game, but also present the background story, the lore, introduce our primes, and get people accustomed to the product we're going to be delivering after its release. So I've done a lot of work.
Yeah, honestly, it shows. To be completely honest, I dabbled in website design for a little while. And I've done other things with just web presence and social media, stuff like that. But I have to say, the layout of the website is very clean. The information is presented well. And it seems that, I looked up the game, Age of Primes, and all of a sudden, it's over here. It's right here. There's a pretty active Board Game Geek thread for it. And the reach of that presence is always important, I think, for a designer, especially at the early stages of a Kickstarter like this. And you have a really solid story, which we're going to get into. But I just want, like I said, so where could everybody visit right now to see that website?
Our website is ageofprimes.com, or you can just go to Facebook, Facebook.com/Age of Primes, and we try to make sure everything's linked back and forth. And you can also get a lot of unique content on Instagram. So I try to put a lot of, I call it character profiles.
Okay.
So you can get a picture with some text on there about the different characters of the game.
Sorry, I had to chuckle just for a second. Gil mentioned in chat that the storm must have hit my area because my hair is all messed up already. So thanks, Gil. Thank you for that. So how did you develop the story behind this game? This is a really intricate. I'm a huge lore fan. Chris, who's going to be joining us later, is a huge lore fan. I think most people that watch Geekspiel are also big lore fans. But how did you develop the story behind what you've developed here?
Well, that's a deep question. I've always been a very creative guy to begin with. I can remember being in like middle school and my teachers telling me, "Yeah, I don't care what you think you're going to be a writer one day." And well, I disagreed with them at the time. It's come natural. My team is 4 people, very creative people. And I can't take all the credit myself. We spent, I want to say, the better part of 7 to 8 years working on the background story.
Okay.
The game itself probably took around 3 years, but we've been wanting to do more than just create a card game. So between myself, Matt, Jake, and some of the people who are no longer on our team, we put a lot of long hours into creating the background story. I kind of chuckle about that because I know that there's been times when we would sit down at 8:30 at night and look at the clock and it's like 2:30 in the morning. We're like, oh my God, I got to go to work in the morning.
So
my wife's going to kill me.
Are you guys all local to each other? The main component,
no.
The main people. So you guys are like
None
online
of us are
meetings,
local.
stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, it was Skype for the longest time until Skype started being Skype, and we've switched to Discord, and we meet at least twice a week on Discord to keep in touch and build up our momentum.
I could definitely sympathize, even just with the things we do here on Geek Spiel. It's the same thing. You know, we'll finish the show and then say, okay, tonight I'm going to go to bed. Then we'll spend another hour or two, you know, talking about, you know, whatever else is going on in our lives. And I think you probably deal with the same thing in that situation.
Oh yeah. My team is actually seeing my kids grow up.
Well, that's awesome.
When I put the team together, I only had one kid, and now I have a kid in 4th grade. So they've seen.
How long have you been in development of this game? What's the period of time, if you sort of reflect on that?
I want to think that Jake and I got together and started putting some pencil to paper about 9 years ago or so.
Wow.
We didn't really grow our team until we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to do. And I will say that what we see today is nothing at all on what we were talking about in the beginning. But I would say about 6-7 years ago, we brought Matt and a couple other writers in the team and started writing some story content and, you know, just growing from there.
Okay. So your team now, how many members are on the team outside of yourself?
We currently have 4 people total. I have myself, I have Jake. I'm going to tell you where they're at since you were asking about the remote. Jake is in Denver, Colorado. Matt is in Salt Lake, was it Utah? And my artist Joe is in England. So we are time zones apart.
Jump around, right? So that's pretty excellent, though. So, and you mentioned that the team has grown, and I guess you also said it shrunk at some point. You know, did you pull on more people and then like have to part ways at some point with some people?
Yeah, we had some creative differences. We had some people join the team that didn't have the time to continue doing Age of Primes, and you know, just like I said, it's been 9 years for Jake and I. So across the time, people just they've. I mean, like I said, I didn't have a kid at that time, so we've had people's lives change during the time.
Okay, and I can understand that too, because you know, as the family grows, and you know, the hierarchy of responsibilities changes, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you said you and Jake started. What planted the seed for this? I mean, you said middle school, but for the two of you, where did you guys meet? Where did you start developing this idea?
So Jake and I basically got together. I can't remember what the year was, but at that time I was running a website that was reviewing card games, video games, etc., stuff like that. And Jake was actually still in college. I think about it, and he was looking for something to do to fill his time. So he was wanting to do. He wanted to write about Magic the Gathering and do some in-depth blogs. So I'm like, yeah, come on. And as I got to know him a little bit, I realized that, hey, you know what? He might be a very good designer for the concept that I have in my mind, which came to be Age of Primes. And we got together, talked about it. At that time, there was one other person with us, and we talked for hours and hours. And finally, Jake was like, yeah, let's do this. Awesome. And it's just, you know, made some friends. And
I have to say, 9 years, that's a long time to be partnered up and to be working with essentially a development team. And especially when and I think, you know, it's different for anybody entering the board game design, you know, either as a hobby or as an idea of a business. But I think when you go with the mentality, I think you guys came in for all the right reasons. I'll start by saying that you guys had a creative idea. You were building it in your head, and you just wanted to be able to share that idea with the world, which I think is one of the the best and most awesome reasons, and also the way you see the best games hit the market is because of that, the artistic side of it, and for that to be building and growing for 9 years. Were there any points where you're like, I wish this were on my table officially, or on like my cousin's table who's never seen this design, or a friend, you know, I wish that the public had this, because 9 years is a long baking time for that, you know?
It sure is. I would say that we knew we wanted to make a card game the entire time, and the original plan was to do a digital game. And so we actually went out and found a couple of game developers to help us out. And at that time, it was more expensive to do print than it was digital. But as we were going through it, the market kind of shifted, and I started developing some network with with some printers, and as I started going through it, I started realizing that my assessment wasn't right anymore. So we switched to the print game at that point. And I would say, at least 4 or 5 years ago, I wanted to have it on my table to be able to see it. Late last year, we actually printed a couple sets of prototypes, and I literally have played the game with my son on my own table, and I've played it with a couple of people at work, and things like that. So, while it's technically is still just a dream,
yes,
I can still say I'm one of the few people who have played Age of Primes in the print phase right now.
And with your family, I mean, playing with your family is, I'm sure, amazing. Like one of the best feelings of the whole process. But walk me through when you had that prototype in hand, and the first time you sat down at the table with somebody that wasn't, part of the development team and played this game. What was going through your head? And and then let me know, because you probably remember this. What happened at the end of that game? What were the emotions at the end of that game? Like, go ahead, walk me through it.
Well, so the very first time, well, let me take you one step back before that.
Sure.
Before that was actually opening the box to see my cards. That was, I want to say that I damn near shed a tear. It was like, this has been in my mind for so long. I mean, like I said, 9 years. I mean, to see the cards, open the box, pull cards out, and see these things in my hand. I'm flipping them over, and I can't believe it. Here's the back of my card. Here's the front of my card. Let me go find my primes. That kind of thing.
That's great.
So that was a very emotional time for me. And then my very first game was against my son, and I think at the time he was still 10. So I showed him the game, and in our little play test, we weren't really playing the game, but in his mind, he's playing the game for real, and he wins the game. And he's, yeah, Dad, I beat you. So I'm like, all right, let's play again.
Now let's really play the game.
Now let's really play the game. Yeah. So I pull out console and show him how to play the game.
There we go. Excellent. Which actually kind of leads me to a great. I had a question in my head earlier, but this is a good time to ask it. What's your favorite faction in the game in its current iteration?
That's a very good question, because I'm torn by it, because when we first set up the game, we sort of had people who were, this is your house, develop this house, and this is your house, develop that house.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, I ended up with Ren. So I built Ren from, built the characters, I built, the entire structure of what it's about, all the gangsters and all that. So Ren is sort of my baby. And like my favorite characters would be Roman Jackson and Sylvester McCormick, both Ren primes. But when I sit down and play the game, I can't help but not want to play Council, because Council has, I've always been like the sort of a control player, and Council has that allure to me. It's got the, using magic terms, it's got the counter spells, it's got the bounce, it's got things like that make me like, yeah, let me try that.
It's not traditional like attack face over and over again. It has those things that if somebody comes at you too aggressively, you're like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
Right, exactly. Let me protect myself.
Yeah, I'm also a fan. I'm a fan of watching control players. I am a horrible control player, because whenever I have those type of cards in hand, I can't get, I want them out. It's like, okay, I just want to play. I'm not good with timing cards. So how did you, and this is, I think, more of a question for the designers that watch us, but this is part of what we do here. How did you approach play testing? Because this is a robust game, and it seems to be a pretty robust rule set and different interactions and balance. How did you approach play testing?
That's a very good question. We actually had long conversations about doing that, because we're being remote like this. And our theory is that we're never going to be able to play testing enough. Doesn't matter if I have 50 people or if I have 1,000 people play testing. I'm never going to feel like I have enough tests in. So what we decided on doing is having, we did 3 phases. We did internal limited, which is just a theme decks, just open them up, shuffle, play. We did internal constructed, which is building your own decks out of all the cards. And then we did, I think it was either 1 or 2 weeks of external limited play testing, and then just let the guys go nuts after that for, gosh, it was like 9 months or something like that, playing Constructed. And our goal was to make sure that we want to make sure all the decks were play tested and balanced against each other. So what the primary thing was that Jake and I would meet at least twice a week and try to get in as many games as we could, just mixing and matching the houses, trying to match up the primes. We knew that the core set of rules were solid because the whole point of our game was we wanted to make a game that it's accessible to any card game player. So if you've played Magic, you've played Hearthstone, Yu-Gi-Oh, etc., you can play Age of Primes. So we knew by taking different pieces, parts from each of those games, that those were going to fit well. The only thing that was different about Age of Primes that we were a little concerned about was using victory points instead of trying to kill your opponent, which worked out totally fine.
Good.
But then when we got to the play testers, we were a little bit concerned because they have to actually experience other portions of the game. And I had a conversation with a gentleman who told me that one of the biggest things that designers do not play test is the meta around the game. Designers are very, very intent on my game must work. It's got to look pretty. It's got to, all these things that they're so focused on, but they don't think about things like, when I'm done playing the game, does it have bags I can put stuff into? So the things around the game. So for example, with Age of Primes, we wanted to make sure that the actual deck building was fun, talking about the game outside of the game, all those things were fun. And so we made sure that, when the playtest sessions were over, we actually passed out a sheet to all the players and we said, we need you to fill this out. It's got to be the contents of your decks and how did you come about building the decks, things like that. So we wanted to make sure that we got the feedback on the experience of playing the game. If the game's not fun, we want to make changes to it. And for the most part, now I'm thinking about it. I don't think I had too many negatives. So I can think of one negative that we made a change on.
So early on then, even in the playtesting, you were getting feedback that was just mostly positive. I mean, you're going to hit some negatives and some negatives that don't even really apply to what you're looking for. Sometimes it's just like a taste, like feedback thing. In those, so how many data points did you start with for your questionnaire? And then how many did you end up with toward later playtesting? Like if you had to estimate.
I don't think that we changed it. I think what we wanted to do is make sure that we had, we want to have consistency in the question. Okay. So when the players would know what we were looking for, and the first week they showed up, they played, and then next thing you know, they're filling a sheet out, and it's taking them 20 minutes to fill the sheet out. Well, then when they came back next time, they knew, well, they're going to ask me for my deck builds, they're going to ask me for all these things. So let me write down my deck builds first. So they would come with the decks filled out and they'd handshake the paper. Okay, here's my decks. And then at the end of the night, then they started just, okay, I got to fill out these 6 questions. And they weren't like essay type questions either.
Right. So the process of the questionnaire, instead of handing it out at the end of the night, people would actually just grab them like right at the beginning of the night and start filling them out as they were playing. Like, more in the heat of like, oh, okay, I just built my deck. Let me write down some notes about what I feel about that. Or a few rounds in.
You're actually taking me back now. I think that Jake actually, I think he got sick and tired of doing all the paperwork, and I think what he ended up doing was creating a Google survey sheet.
Yep.
So at the end of the night, he's like, "Wait, everybody sit down. We're going to pass around my iPad, and you're going to fill out these questionnaires. So I got to just put your name, and then click 1, 2, 3, and then hit submit, and then they get him the deck list afterwards." And there were times that he had to chase people down on Facebook. Hey, you didn't give me your sheet of whatever your deck build was.
Right.
But that was one thing that Jake did a very good job of, by the way, is that he did an excellent job of not only getting the data from them, but he made sure that all the data went into a spreadsheet, and we were able to go through all the metadata that was supplied. So we actually know what decks were most popular. We know the win-loss ratio of all the decks. We know when you play test ran against council, things like that. And we even know the most popular cards that were played. Like I can tell you that Indefinite Detention and Final Word, which are council cards, were the most popular cards amongst all the playtesters by a lot.
Which is great. And having that and so having that finite data, that helps you develop the game you want, and that's
Absolutely.
that's great, because I mean, and I wanted to get that information out to people who are either in the midst of developing their games, or they're thinking about developing a game, and just so that they know that's not an easy period to be in. The playtesting period is one of the more difficult ones, especially to make sure you're getting the right data and making the right changes to your game. So if you don't mind, you ready to crash this table?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. We'll continue asking questions as we play, but we'd like to get the intro in and get some rounds in. So here we are at the glorious table. I have a player mat in front of me. Chris Walters, the ever wonderful, ever vigilant.
Wow, I've never been described as ever wonderful before.
Ever aggressive.
I've heard that many a time.
Chris Walters is at the table with us. Chris, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm drinking coffee out of this wonderfully themed winter mug right now. So
you're pulling a Will Esgro tonight. You're bringing a different vessel. See, I just have a mixing glass of some type of drinks with me this evening. So
yeah, my typical setup has been changed. Again, it's been about 2 weeks now, but I'm at stay-at-home dad life, and my house, some of it's in order, but with us taking a couple weeks off with the show because of the holidays and all kinds of stuff, I've got to reset everything up. So I'm here. Got coffee. I'm
sort of aware. I got the coffee.
Right. I don't know. Colors.
Coffee makes the difference.
So I'm going to do something that we haven't done in previous episodes. I'm going to do it really quick. And I'm going to ask Chris what your initial thoughts are as you look at the table right now. Before we get an overview of the game, what are your thoughts before we jump into the game?
My thoughts are okay.
Chris W.
Oh gosh, we're going to be so
Sorry,
confused with the Chris's tonight.
I set it up, so it's probably not me.
That's true. Hey, Chris, what do you think of your own table?
I think it looks nice.
No, you all talked about Chris, you talked about the meta around a game, and I think one of the things I really enjoy about deck builders in particular is a good playmat. And so I like when I can, especially when the playmat feels intuitive to the gameplay, right? There's sometimes where it's like, oh, there's a discard pile and then there's a front deck and there's a spot where your deck goes and that's it. But this, it seems like this game in particular, I've read through the rules and started doing a little bit of discussion around it, and it seems like very similar to last 2 weeks ago when we were playing, that the playmat is very intuitive to the process. And so I'm really excited about, you haven't played this game before? Well, you don't have to worry about where your cards go, right? And it's something little, but it does, you talk about the flow of the game and what makes me want to come back and play it more. And it's these ease pieces, right? It's these pieces that make me want to go, oh, yeah, it was super easy to set up that game because it tells me where everything goes. And, one of the things I don't like about heavy Euros sometimes is you get into these games and you're like, gosh, it takes me 7 years to set everything up. And, not that it probably saves me more than 10 seconds, but just to know, this deck of cards goes here. This is where I put everything. Perfect. It just again, I resonate with that meta around the game. And so, no, I'm really excited. My first foray into gaming probably was when I was, a kid, and we played in Boy Scouts. We played Magic the Gathering. We all had our decks of Magic cards, and it's old school 90s, Magic the Gathering. So I don't know anything about leaders and things I agree. Best time. But I don't know anything about these leaders and all kinds of stuff. So that'll be an adjustment.
90s Magic, best Magic.
Right.
So I share in the same thing. The art, the appearance of the game too. The art does grab me. It pulls me in. And like I said, visiting the website, anybody who does want to visit the website, you can check it out. There's already really intricate story and lore behind each of the characters you're going to see in tonight's play. So, so with that, Chris N, I'm going to have you take it away and walk us through how to play the game.
So let me just give you a piece of background on these mats. It's so funny you brought that up. Is these were actually an afterthought. The reason that I created the mats in the first place is because we were having problems during the play testing with people didn't understand where the front and the back of the party was. and they didn't know where the champion was. So if I'm attacking you, well, my champion has to attack your champion. Well, which one's your champion?
Right.
Well, I think it's this one, but I thought that was the front. So with the play mats, I just put on there, you know what? Your champion goes here. Just everybody knows where your champion's at now.
Right.
So that's where the back came from.
Well, it's great.
So yeah, let's get started here. Where do I want to begin? So the game obviously comes with the 3 houses. They all play different. Obviously they have the same rules, mechanics. Well, maybe I shouldn't say mechanics. The big key that we wanted to make sure that we provided to the players is that all the houses can do everything. It's actually just how they do it. So, for example, if you're using card games terminology like board wiping, pinpoint removal, all the houses can do it. It's simply how they do it. There's some penalties or some drawbacks, maybe some other way to do it. But that was real important for us. So players should be able to resonate with one of the houses, because the houses will be, if you're more of an aggro player, you probably resonate more with Ren. If you like combos and making big things, you probably want to go towards clarity. So that's how we like to present the game to new players. I will say to everyone listening, this is your first time playing, play Ren. Ren will help you a lot by showing you how the combat system works.
You told him that, and now Will's going to be like, I got to play Ren. The aggro deck.
I was already sitting
the easiest way of winning.
Oh, okay. I like a challenge. Come on, Chris.
That's why you play against me, right?
But see, I got to pause for a second here, because now you put out the gauntlet. See, even if I win now, Chris is going to walk away from the table and say, "Well, that's because Will was playing Ren."
I mean, maybe.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry,
Chris go ahead.
Well, the only reason I say to play Ren first is because it has aspects of everything. You're going to have a little bit of hidden cards. You're going to have a little bit of combat. You're going to have a little bit of tricks. You're going to have a little bit of recursion. You got a little bit of everything. So Ren kind of touches on pretty much everything. Whereas Clarity and Council, they more focus on other things. Like, so Council definitely wants to make you not be able to attack me. They definitely want to steal your health. I mean, not your health, but your prestige. Clarity definitely wants you to leave them alone, and so they can go over here and experiment and make big monsters and attack. So those ones are a little bit more on the expert side. But once you play the game with Ren, you got the feel of it. You know how to play the game, and you can expand into the other 2 houses. So I think the easiest way to learn the game is just to play the game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right. So when we start off a game of Age of Primes, obviously each player has their own deck. With the theme decks, it comes with 70 cards. When you're doing your constructed games, you can cut down to 40. Because this is only episode 1, you have a somewhat limited card pool. But we've had a lot of both explosive and fast games in the constructed pool. These decks here are the theme decks. So if you buy Age of Primes, you will actually get these cards here in this quantity. I will say that there's because of a limitation on Tabletopia, the primes are outside the deck. So when you regularly play the game, your primes, which are sitting off the side of the mat right now, they would be inside the deck. So the first thing you do when you start a game is decide which prime you're going to play as. So if I'm playing as Council, I'm going to pick one of these primes, and I'll just say I select Sean Mason to be my persona. So of the primes, I pick Sean Mason. I'm going to put him into play. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my deck and I'm going to shuffle it up. So all the cards are randomized. And then I'm going to draw a hand of 5. Because of the Tabletopia limitation, the cards, they don't flip right.
Okay.
So the cards that are landscape will be sitting off to the side over here.
Okay.
And these cards over here, which are portrait. Yeah. So unfortunately, I can't put the primes in the deck. Yeah. So I apologize for that. Under normal circumstances, you would be able to draw another prime during your game, and you could play and have multiple primes in play, which makes the game so much more fun.
Okay, got it. So right now, because of technology limitation, the cards cannot be flipped and placed back into the deck and sync up with the rest of the deck.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So for this play session, we are only going to play with one prime, not
That's
additional
right.
ones, correct? Okay.
Yeah. But I will say though, in the theme deck, a lot of times I don't want to put a number on it, but if I were to put a number on it, I would say like 75 to 80% of the time, you're only going to have one prime.
Got it.
The ratio of the other 2 cards plus 69 cards, you're not going to see those 2 primes that often.
Okay.
So, like I said, I select Sean Mason as my prime, and the way I have my mat set up. Oops, I just put it in my hand. The way I had the mat set up, the one right here in front of you.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see my hand. That's where your persona goes. So the prime that you actually play as is your persona. And it's important to know that your persona can't be killed under any circumstances. So the prime you select will always be in play.
Got it.
Yeah. And once I have him selected, I can flip my deck over. If I can find the button for it. And then I can shuffle up.
Okay.
And then you would do the same thing. You would select whichever prime you would like.
All right. So I'm just going to go with the flow here. I'm just going to, I mean, I know you mentioned Terran, but I don't want another excuse to win the game here. So let's go with the Prince of Grime Alley, Rogue Leader Sylvester McCormick. Nice.
That's my guy.
Nice.
Okay.
My question really quick
I should say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Ask your question. If I were you, I would lock my board.
Would you right click it? And there it is. Locky.
Yeah, because the board can be, if you accidentally hit the F button or whatever buttons to rotate, the board will do it too. So just lock the board itself.
Got it.
Okay. My question is the little, it looks like the wings with the center part. So I'm looking at Selena right now. What does that symbol mean for me?
With the wings, that's the might symbol. Might is your character's basically it's strength. In our game, unlike other games that have the power and toughness, we only have the 1 score. So if you see that icon, that refers to its might score.
Mm.
So for us, might is how much damage they deal and how much they take to be defeated.
It's resilience and output.
Sure. And then the
sure.
Points, is that's the victory points?
No, victory points are with the coins.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I said.
Like these. Yeah. So if you looked at if you're looking at Selena, her first ability, after you select a character, you gain 1 prestige. The coin is the prestige.
Okay.
And that green symbol at the front is just discard a card, just an identifier. Like
yes, that means exhaust.
Oh, okay.
Basically, if you want to activate a card, you have to exhaust it. So those arrows they're basically like bullet points. You want to activate this, exhaust the card. You want to do this one, exhaust the card. So all of our primes, are there any exceptions? I don't think so.
So it looks like
all the primes have 3 abilities.
It's 1 passive and 2 active, basically. The first ability is like a passive.
Not always. If you check out Ben Gentry right here.
Okay.
Ben Gentry actually has 3 actives.
Okay, got it.
But I will say that that's probably one of the more the formula we use a lot would be passive, active, active.
Okay.
I think I'm going to take Selena. So.
All right.
So basically, I'm getting a victory point every time something's put into my trash, but it says face up from anywhere.
Yeah, it says anyone's trash.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
Yes, he gets out of control.
Okay, that's interesting. So we're gonna flip and draw 5, right?
Yes.
We
flip
should
and shuffle. I don't think that they're randomized. So you got to shuffle.
I'm gonna do that. Shuffle. It's funny because we use both Tabletopia and Tabletop Sim, and I think there's good points for either use of either one of them. But it's funny because I'm used to just hitting R for tabletop simulator. That just shuffles the pack pile, and I have to click this one. And then 5, right?
5 cards. That's right.
All right.
Yeah, we initially tried tabletop simulator, and
Yes.
I had such a hard time getting the cards to actually load and doing everything. And then I attempted Tabletopia, and the uploader was so much easier to use. I'm like, you know what?
We could talk later if you want.
Please.
We could talk later. But yeah, I could help you with that. I've been working on tabletop sim modules for quite a while. Okay, Chris,
All
are
right.
you ready to do this?
I am. Let's do it.
Chris.
All right, so I put some dice out here, color coded them for us and everything. So I'm gonna let you guys roll. I'll let one of you guys go first.
What's that, a 5?
Is that a 5?
Yep.
Let's say a 5. And he's got a
4.
That is a 4. All right. Okay, so for the first player, you don't draw a card in your first turn. Every turn after that, you will draw a card. Each player gets 1 play per turn. A play means a card from hand to wherever it goes. Whether if it's an action, it goes to your trash, or if it's a hidden card, it can go into the hideout. You also get 1 activation of any card that's available to you on the table.
And you get to refresh
Does that make sense?
1 a turn?
You'll refresh all your cards each turn.
Okay.
Are there phases like phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, or is it like everything happens simultaneously?
That was one of the things that we were trying to eliminate. So I guess indirectly there are phases, but you can do all the things I just said plus attack. You can do all those in any order once per turn.
All right. I have child aggro from the other door. If you guys can hear that, I apologize.
Oh, am I going first? Did I really roll that high with a 5?
You are going first.
You won with the 5.
Okay, because I was trying to. I was like, maybe someone else will go first, and I can figure it out. Okay, so I apologize.
I mean,
What's
honestly,
my
this first time
action?
around, the best thing we could do is like we could talk through our first turns with him and sort of get some insight on
right. Okay, so first.
I recommend putting a follower out.
Okay, so what's the first part of this turn for me, Chris?
Okay, so what we've determined is the best course to start a game is to try to get your followers on the table to help you not get attacked. Because if you get attacked without a follower in play, however much damage you would receive, you actually lose that much prestige.
Okay.
So you want to get a follower in play that's going to be a decent sized might. 5 is usually a good place to start, but if you can get someone between a 4 and a 6 out there, that's probably the best.
He's saying things that I don't have.
Okay.
I am fearful right now.
Okay, so when it's
do you
on
have
the
a blue
board,
too?
when it's on the board, do I have actions associated to it on the board?
It's very similar to other games where each of the cards have abilities, like come into play abilities or an activated ability.
Okay.
Maybe, do you want me to go first?
Yes, just go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, when we talked about this roll thing, it was really great, but I just want to see a turn really quick.
Okay, so I'm about to show you why I like clarity or counsel. So my first play, I'm not drawing a card. My first play is going to play press secretary.
Oh, sorry. Before you continue, one quick question: are you forced to play left to right, or could you drop a follower on any of those spaces? So, like, what I mean is, like, is there an order in which, like, is front of your party always the first one you play, and then they follow in line behind that? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. So whenever you go to recruit a follower, you have the choice of front or back. If you don't have anything in your party right now, then it just goes to the front. But if I were to play a second card, then I have a choice of front or back. If I choose the front, I would slide the press secretary over one, and I put the new guy here. Or I would put them in the back, which is right here. Okay? Yep. Okay, so I play and I should say that there's no resources in our game in terms of like mana costs or energy costs or anything like that.
Right.
So anything you're able to play, you can just play. So I'm going to play a press secretary. Obviously, I choose front of my party. and the press secretary has kickback. And after you recruit press secretary, select an enemy player, they lose 2 prestige and you gain 2 prestige. And you can't go below 0 prestige, by the way.
Got it.
Okay, so so what kickback means is that I get additional play as long as it's an action or a hidden card.
Okay.
So that's the mechanic for council.
Right. How do you know when a card's hidden? Does it say?
Sorry, go ahead.
How do you know when a card's hidden? Does it say like where the action follower indicator is?
Yeah, in the so right now the only thing we have are hidden actions. So if you look in the action box down below, the mechanic is actually called hidden.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so with him having his second ability, choose a player based on stealing 2 prestige. So I'm going to choose Will, but you don't have any prestige, so I was stealing them from you, but I do gain the 2 anyway.
Okay,
so
I
go
you gain
up
the
to
2 regardless. Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
And since he just came into play, he comes into play exhausted.
Okay, so he's exhausted.
Okay.
So that means you can't duel with him, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Okay,
is he
so
duelable against? Like, can someone, if they have the ability to duel, fight a refresh or a exhausted card?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, and that sort of goes on. I know we're gonna get to combat later, but just as a quick preface, if I have a character with the ability to attack you, do I choose the targeted attacks, or do you dictate which target is? I would say blocking, but I mean, I don't know what mechanics you use for combat. So
it's dueling. It's what we call it.
Okay.
No, a duel in our game is strictly champion versus champion. So the front of your party is your champion. However, if right now, let's just pretend that my guy is refreshed, and I duel against either of you, neither one of you have a champion. So I would deal damage to your prime instead. And anytime your prime receives damage, you lose prestige.
And do you gain that prestige, or we just lose it?
You just lose it.
Okay, got it.
Okay, and I still have my prime refreshed, so I can use his abilities. Sean Mason has 3 abilities. The first ability is if an enemy champion initiated a duel since your last turn, you gain 1 prestige. Otherwise, you gain 4. Which means if nobody attacked, I gotta make sure it says initiate a duel. Oh, I didn't really realize that. It doesn't say duels anybody. So if Will dueled against Chris, I still couldn't gain it. But typically in a 2-player game, if you can't duel against me, I would gain 4 prestige instead of gaining 1.
So it hurts. It hurts you to duel then for sure.
It hurts me if you duel.
Got it. Sorry if you hear aggro.
Important note for Sean Mason. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
For Sean Mason, on the first turn, the rule is that if nobody still hasn't dueled yet, so he would give me 4 on the first turn.
Okay.
And his second ability is I can select my champion. If it has Guardian, he can duel if it didn't have Guardian. And Guardian is a mechanic that makes it it can't attack, is what Guardian says. All right. So since nobody's dueled since my last turn, I'm going to exhaust him, and I'll gain 4 prestige. So it takes me up to 6.
And you can only pass turn. You can only activate 1 ability of a follower prime a turn, right? So if you let's just yours doesn't have a action, but if your follower had an action, you wouldn't be able to activate that and your prime at the same turn.
No, I can.
You can.
If I have, as long as your character are followers and primes, as long as your characters are refreshed on your turn, you can exhaust them to use their ability.
Okay. So does your press secretary have a ability with this right now?
No, the ability. If you look at like your Selena Vargas,
it's that arrow, right?
It's the little arrow. The arrow indicates activate, which means exhaust this character to do this thing. The press secretary does not have that. He just has, I come into play, I do this thing, and that's it.
Yeah, he's got the kickback, and then kickback lets him play an
Oh, I forgot about my
additional
kickback.
action.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, so he has a passive that kickback anytime, as long as Press Secretary is available on
Right.
his board, he could play an additional action or card with hidden on the turn.
Yeah, I'm glad you said kickback. I forgot about that. Kickback allows me to have one additional play for the turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this card into play, which is a card with hidden.
Wait a second. Wait a
Thanks.
tick. Got it.
Okay, so
And
now I'm
this
finished
is-
with my turn.
And how do we know that? Again, I guess that's the one piece I missed. Is so the hidden card, is that just?
It says it on the card on where your action, the box on the bottom of one of your playing cards is.
Okay, it tells me like
it will
his
say hidden. Yeah.
Like Chris has said, like kickback. It will say
Correct.
hidden.
That's correct. Yeah, it's just like a theme words within other card games. Cool.
So
All
hidden is an ability on a card. So if you're playing a card that has hidden, you have to flip it over and put it into your hideout. So
Okay.
even if it's coming from your trash or your deck or anywhere, it has to be flipped over and put into your hideout. And it also has a secondary ability on the hidden that basically gives you the reveal condition. So the hidden cards are the only time that you can interact with your opponent on their turn. The hidden card is actually waiting for something to happen. And it says on the card, if this occurs, flip this over and do this. So essentially I can prevent abilities from happening, or if you're attacking, I can flip this thing over and kill that thing. Those kind of mechanics.
Okay. That makes me scared because you have that.
I'm playing Council.
Right. Okay, Mr. Control Deck. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go. So I am playing.
Oh, wait. We're going that way?
Yeah, because I'm next in number anyways.
I'm going to be confused. That's all.
All right. So
I have.
He plays on Lilac.
Lilac Dandy. So it comes out refreshed.
Yes, it sure does. It has Blitz.
Yeah. So
nice.
Now the splice is that's automatic as well, as long as it's selected.
No, you have to actually activate something to select it, or play a card to target it. I'm so glad that was the first card you played, because we were actually having quite a few questions about the splice mechanic. So let me help you out with that.
Okay.
So splice, what splice means is that if a card specifically selects something. So like, for example, with Selena Vargas.
Right.
She says on her card ability, select a follower, he gains 1 might. So if you look at her card, it's actually bolded, the words select.
Right.
So a card that says select a card to do something will trigger a splice.
Right.
And splice only triggers if you select your own thing on your turn.
Oh, that's OP though, because so basically this first turn he could utilize Selena's first activated ability to pump up 1 extra winged thing, splice it, which would give it another 2 extra winged things, making it a 4 wing thing.
Yeah, might. I love how he still calls it a wing thing. Might.
Sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris, you're correcting him, and he's just going to keep saying it.
He just keeps going.
So that's what I was looking to do. So I have the ability to duel, because this card, the Lilac Dandy, is refreshed. It is open. I'm gonna exhaust Selena to give me. I'm gonna select a follower. That follower gains 1 might, which means that this will turn to 4 total because of the splice.
Yep.
And I gain a prestige point because after I select.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. So
combos out of the gate.
I would like to. I mean, Chris, you're the only one right now with things to attack. So I can attack Will, but he doesn't have any things to do anything with.
I have nothing. I'm
so
just over here.
With 4 might, I would like to attack your press secretary.
Okay. All right. So the press secretary, it will do 2 damage to your guy. Your guy will do 4 damage to mine, and I will perish.
So does my might so like at the end of so I have to exhaust it because it's
that's right.
So, but when does the might refresh on that? So is it like instantly when it
all
turns
of the
over?
Abilities.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, everything refreshes at the end of the turn.
Okay, so to attack it later, it's 1 might, so it's an easy kill, but it has the potential of being souped up really quick.
Well, I have a question about damage persistence. You did 2 damage to him. At the end of the turn, he's going to drop back to 1. Does that damage persist to the end of the turn?
No, at the same time, everything resets. So the followers will heal. They'll reset back to their normal, and things like that. So no, it's built into the game. So that what you think should happen is
the damage is with the combat indirectly, right? So like
as soon as the combat ends, then everything resets back to the normal numbers. And damage is wiped before that happens. Then everything resets to the normal numbers.
So it doesn't make it easier if I attack for Will to take it out the next turn.
Right.
It's back to its full health.
So are there hidden cards that could beef things up and sort of surprise the other players?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what Clarity masters.
Did I get to? I think I missed this because I'm not the first player. I got to draw a card, right? I can still do that.
You do get a draw. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to chime in for a second.
Yes.
Sylvester McCormick.
Yes.
Is looking for any player to put anything into the trash. And I just put a press secretary in the trash.
So I get 1.
So you get 1 prestige.
Bam. Thanks to
you want me to keep attacking.
Yes.
You don't want to killing my people that hurt him.
Keep killing.
Do I get any prestige for a completed combat? Like
what do you mean?
For defeating your person? Do I get any prestige for that?
No, you only gain prestige if a card specifically says so.
Okay.
Yeah, normally the under outside of Ren, normally you gain prestige whenever you activate your prime or you're using some ability that says like gain 3 prestige.
Right.
I should point out too for your splice, if for some reason you're able to splice something several times a turn, they stack. So if you're able to splice the Lilac Dandy twice, it will continue to grow.
Okay. Cool. And that's what you're talking about, the Clarity being the combo deck, right? You want multiple ways to splice these cards so that you can either amp up one person or use multiple effects or so on and so forth.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, Clarity has been known to, out of nowhere, gain 12 prestige. So when I say combo out, we actually had to nerf a combo because one of the players gained 20 prestige in a turn, and you're like, that's not what we were hoping for.
That is not what I wanted to do.
that was not the intention. Cool. So are you done, Chris?
I believe I am. I think that's all the actions I can do in a turn, right? Is play a card, use the abilities, and do a duel.
And attack. So, yep.
Okay, so I will throw out. Now that I know what's going on there, I'm going to throw. This is the card I'm playing.
Did you draw a card?
I'm going to. Sorry. I know it's stuff. Is that what's doing it? There. Yep. Okay.
There you go.
So I'm playing the veteran. During my turn, my champion cannot be defeated. So I guess right now, she cannot be defeated, right?
But it starts exhausting.
Only during my turn.
Yes, very good.
Only during my turn, and that's what I wasn't reading before. I guess let me take a quick look here and see what I picked up. So I can either play an action or a follower. I'm playing the follower, and then I will activate his prime, or the prime action of discarding a card from my hand and then drawing a card. So,
yes,
turn him.
I do that all the time.
I'm going to discard this, which will give
a constant source of,
Now the discard that will give me a point, right? For discarding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. And
Sly is a very satisfying card. It's like, you might have killed all my guys, but it might have.
I still get points. Yeah,
Mr. McCoy,
yes.
Very good. And that's all I can do this turn.
Yeah, don't forget this comes out exhausted.
Yeah. Oh, we'll just do that then.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I forgot about my hidden card. Oh well.
All right, I wondered, but I was not going to be the one to be like bring that up. No.
Yeah, as okay. We are getting the hang of the game questions that you'd like to ask Chris, Newton, let us know in chat.
You can ask me questions too, but they're not as cool as Chris Newton's.
I don't know. You probably have some pretty cool answers up in that brain of yours. So don't
Am I afraid of pandas? Yes.
See, there we go. Perfect example. All right, so he's
okay. So I'm going to start my turn off. Yep. I refresh my prime.
Right, because there's a couple of beginning, like start of phase kind of concepts, right? Like I know you said you were taking out the phases, but like there's the kind of like start of the round actions, like unexhausting cards, refreshing cards and stuff.
Right. Yeah,
and there are a couple of hidden cards that trigger on when your turn starts. Do this thing.
Okay.
So yeah. Long story short, yes. Okay, so I am going to look at what you guys played. All right, I'm going to recruit, which I play for the turn, an honor guard, which is just a 6 might follower with guardian.
Okay.
And he's exhausted.
An imperial officer. Got it.
Right, but now you can. But again, Sean lets you take something with guardian like this 6 might and attack with it. So you know.
You know what's funny? If you double click on honor guard and look at him.
Yeah.
The first time I saw this, I got a chuckle at it because my artist is English. He's literally in Great Britain, and I saw his face. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I imagined, like a British, like the redcoats, like back in the olden days wore." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So I don't know. I don't know.
He's got he has all the regalia.
Yeah. Anyway, so I recruit him because you guys dueled last turn. I can only gain 1 prestige off of Sean Mason.
That's right.
I exhaust him to gain 1. So I'm at 7. Wow. Now is probably a good time to talk about prestige thresholds. So if you look at any prime, the third ability is what we call their ultimate ability, and you see the pile of coins with the number. So the numbers will typically be 5+, 10+, or 15+, unless you're Joseph Tromper and he has a 20+. What that means is that if any player has prestige higher than that number, equal to or higher than that number, that ability turns on. So what that allows us to do is the cards become stronger as the game progresses through the various depths of the game. So like, for example, with Sean Mason, his ultimate turns on at 10, 10+. I think McCormick turns on at 15. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall.
I'm 15
Selena.
as well.
15 as well. So nobody's broken the number yet, but you see that I'm at 7. If I cross 10 and say I get the 15 first, both of your primes ultimates will turn on. And that is a big deal, by the way.
Yeah.
So if
I'm sure you'll find out.
If you get to what did you say? Once you hit the number, then mine turns on too?
It's a global number. Once anybody hits the given numbers, it'll turn on.
Okay, sorry, I missed that.
So Sean Mason will turn on at 10. McCormick and Vargas will turn on at 15. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and there are non-prime cards that have thresholds as well. So some of the other cards will get stronger as the game progresses. All right, so I'm finished with my turn.
Okay, so I'm going to draw a card.
Make sure you refresh.
Yep.
I think that's the longest a Lilac Dandy has ever survived.
I was going to say, I feel really good about this Lilac Dandy. First turn. Okay, gosh. There's just so much going on right now with these cards, and that's what I love about combo decks. But again, it's kind of like a control deck. You kind of have to know where the interplay is, because
it's very difficult for clarity to combo out in the theme deck because there's so few. I should talk about that. in the theme deck itself, you get 1 copy of all the rares and 3 copies of all the commons. So, like for example, the primes are rares. So there's 1 copy of those. The veteran. Here's a good example, actually. If you want to look at it around the title box, I'm sorry, the ability box. You see how there's a red outline.
Okay.
Yes.
That designates that it's a rare. If it did not have a
when
red
it
around
has
it,
color on that banner, it looks like, right?
The color on the banner represents what house it belongs to.
Got it.
Okay, so but since your honor guard is like gray versus like his is red,
It'd be classified as more of a common type card, meaning that
Yeah,
the abilities
exactly.
are like
It's
a little bit
they're actually
underpowered.
called neutral.
Okay.
okay,
And it's really important when you get to the construction phase of the meta style, is that in that regard, I can play the neutrals from this deck in a Ren deck, or the neutrals don't belong to any house. So once you own the cards, you can put them in any deck you want to.
okay,
Interesting.
Yeah. And the only thing that really limits you to your deck style is when you're constructing a deck, you decide which prime you want to play. So if you want to say play as Sylvester McCormick, you see the Ren icon on him. And what that tells you is that all the cards in my deck have to be either Ren or neutral. So I can't intermix the houses.
mm-hmm.
I like it.
Okay, so I'm going to pick the. So I drew my card. I'm gonna go ahead and play a card. I'm gonna play this botanist here. So I'm going to.
Very nice. You get to gain 1 there.
I haven't recruited a plant yet, so.
Oh, sorry. That's right.
It comes out here.
That's right.
Now I can still splice a card even. Can I still like use Selena's select a card that's been exhausted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to. Gosh.
Oh, that's a great ramp right there.
Yeah. The problem is I'm trying to figure out if I let your champion stand, and because I can take it out.
But I mean that gives you pretty amazing board presence. But I don't see any like trigger that would give you. I mean, if you have a trigger in your hand, that'll give you more might.
Well, so I can do like I did last turn and ramp this Lilac Dandy to 4.
You can, and then kill that guy. Yes, you can.
Right, but I don't.
And then I will cry a little while.
Right. I mean, that's normal. I'm used to that. I'm going to go ahead and select the Sunreach botanist.
Okay.
So I'm going to select them with Selena, which means that I gain a prestige point. This follower has 3 might this turn, well, not that it matters, but because I've spliced them, I get to recruit a 1 might plant card.
Yes.
And
you saw that I set the tokens right next to your deck, right?
Say that one more time. Oh, it's
These
a
right
token.
here?
It's not.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I didn't see that.
That's fine. Gotcha.
Those
we actually created tokens for all the different houses.
Okay, gotcha. So
what I would
take one of these.
I'm guessing there's a card somewhere in his deck that, based on his board presence, he gets like a major buff on something. With the ability to bring out that many plants, or even like if X amount of plants are present on the field, then gain this amount of might, that kind of stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, it's called Selena Vargas's ultimate.
oh, there we go.
Right.
She's already on the table.
And so I'm gonna go ahead and because I recruited a plant, I also gain another prestige, so I'm now up to 3.
Dirty.
And dueling does not make sense for me right now because that won't do anything.
Now this would be a good time to point out when you recruit the plant token, you can choose front or back. So you could put the token at the front of your party. Oops, I think I flipped your guy over.
You didn't mean, yeah.
You could put him in the front to protect him against attack.
Oh,
if you put him at the front, you would slide these 2 guys over and put him in the front.
Because you can only attack the champion.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And just so it's said, you can't rearrange your party. So wherever you place them, the only way you can rearrange them is by front or back.
Wiping
you recruit something new.
Interesting.
Okay.
Cool.
So I believe I did everything I can do. I played a card, I activated an ability, and I can't initiate a duel. Well, I don't want to initiate a duel. So yeah, that's my thingy.
So before I play my first card, if I have something that says if something happens, I lose X amount of coin. Prestige is the term.
Prestige.
Is that yeah,
Yes.
X amount of prestige. Do I have to, does it require that I have the X amount to be able to use
No.
it? Oh, beautiful.
Nope.
Then that makes my decision very easy.
So that's nice
action.
to play those super early on,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh yeah, refresh. Oops, and I have to draw a card too. But I already
Yeah.
knew what I was doing before we got to that point. So this
You're
thing
asking
is
questions, and
yeah, this thing is attacking that thing over there. Where
Who's
is he?
attacking?
Where's that lilac thing? The lilac thing is
stay away from my lilac.
Okay.
selected.
He's got a 6 over here.
Is
Why
it
don't you
embedded
take
in
him
the
out?
table?
What? Oh, here. This is it
I
right
guess
here.
not.
This was it really embedded in the table?
Yeah, on my screen it was kind of angled into the map. Like, what's going on with that thing?
Okay, so yeah, Cold Blood is the card.
So, like, look at this 6. Like, that 6 is hard, and it can attack now because it has because of his special ability, because of Sean.
It's an action. No, so it says select an enemy character and defeat it. If the character is defeated, I lose 5. So I'm selecting the lilac and
Yeah.
defeating and opting to defeat it. If he had like a hidden card to counter it or something, then that would work. But he doesn't have anything hidden in front of him, so I don't think he has any way to counter me.
So
taking
again, Will, what's the strategy of taking? Other than you hate me, you just want to
Well,
fight me.
I mean, well. So the strategy of me taking that out is that his outer guard, yes, is powerful, but I can most likely get it later. That's going to ramp very quickly.
I mean, it can if I choose it, but
Right, but that'll ramp.
okay,
That'll ramp.
that's fine. So you're destroying the
lilac, yes, yes, and then this goes to my trash and your trash. So I gain,
Yes.
so I lose 0 or I lose 2, and then I gain 2.
Yes. You
So
did it right too. So you lose off of the ability resolves, and then you gain the 2. Good.
Right.
Good job.
Then I will.
Now your champion is available to use, right?
Yeah, that has to be refreshed.
Yes.
So you could choose the duel.
I could. And I'm gonna.
Gosh, he's like you're giving the game to Chris over here. I feel like
Maybe. I mean, I'm just hoping he's 15, so then things start to light up on my board over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and come at you, Chris W. again.
Okay.
With that
so
guy.
My plant token goes away, correct? Now, does that go back into like that token spot? It's I still always have access to.
Well, as far as the rules go, it hits the trash long enough to register anything, like for example, with McCormick.
Yeah.
It'll trigger all of those, and then it'll be removed and go to back to your token pile, basically.
Okay. So he gets the point then for the.
So he does get a point for that. Yeah.
And then I'm going to use my discard from hand and draw a card ability again. Let me just take a quick look here.
The hand size is 7 on this, right? That's your hand limit, Chris?
Max.
Yes. Your max hand limit's 7.
Okay. And is that end of turn? Like you end your turn with 7 versus okay.
Yeah, it's only your turn. So if you go over for some reason, like Lane Cochran can make you go over during your turn. I mean, during somebody else's turn.
Yeah.
You don't discard until the end of your turn.
Okay.
Basically, cleanup phase.
Yeah, I'm going to dump this recover card, draw another card, and gain another. Go ahead.
That's right. All right. So I'm going to refresh. Him too. I'm going to draw a card. Nice. All right. So,
and to answer your second part of your question, Chris W., it's also evening the board for board presence at this point. He only has 1 out, and granted, it's powerful, but I'd much rather have an even
And
board.
I think that's just a strategy piece, right? So like for me, I get like clearing a board, and yes, mine can ramp,
right.
but it was like what was it, 2 1s and a 2
Yes.
might versus like a 6, right? And
A
so
6,
if you
right.
can eliminate that 6, that's one thing. But like early board presence is also
you also have
strength
to
of
you also have to look at
character.
that card and read the flavor text on it, or not the flavor text, but it can't initiate duels.
So but again,
he can't attack.
Well, like I said, when he uses his ability to select a champion,
I'll show him.
Yeah, he gets to use it. So he wouldn't gain
got it.
the
Okay, I didn't
straight
see that. I
out
didn't see
points,
that
but
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
which
so
is what
I'm
I was
gonna,
trying to tell you, and you were like, "Nah, I'm good."
It's okay. I am good. I am good.
So I'm gonna take my honor guard and attack and kill your guy.
Yay.
Okay, so you're using that ability. So, but I guess
Yes.
the drawback of that is you're not able to use your 1 prestige versus.
To get
But
him.
Absolutely.
when Will already initiated that combat, you weren't going to get it anyways. You were going to get 1.
That's right.
So what's the payout for that?
Yeah, we've discovered that Sean Mason is a very powerful card as long as the board is under control. When he's not under control, it's how do I get it under control? That kind of thing.
Right.
All right, so there's my attack. I'm gonna my play for turn. I'm gonna play another hidden card, and then I'm finished.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my card here.
So I'm going to ask a question that I think that a lot of game designers probably ask themselves whenever they're showcasing the game.
Yes.
Do you is it good to go ahead and win the game when you're showing somebody else how to play, or do you let them win?
Well, no. So
we encourage cutthroat play here on Table Crashers. We actually have, I don't know if anyone told you, Chris, we have a theme, which is most of the time developers don't win their own games.
Very true. I don't know if this is going to be the case this time. He's got
no, this might, again, it might not be the case. But.
So my advice on that is so long as your game isn't broken and you're utilizing those broken bits to beat other people when you're testing your game, then you're fine. But if you're using this combo that only you know about because of like some intricate ruling that you have in your mind, and you're exploding that like last turn of the game to win the game, then the players are going to be, number one, it's going to turn people off to the game because it's a broken mechanic. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's fair.
And number two, especially if you do it like to edge out or like argue that you're winning a game against somebody, and quoting like only rules you have in your head, then it becomes a point of contention and where you should back away from doing that. Granted, maybe you do have the win, but you're on the fence of whether that should even be a rule. And if you feel like and that's the thing as a designer, if you're playing a game with somebody and testing it, that's a red flag should go off in your head. If you have to sort of question the ethics of you playing that, your own game playing ethics, we'll say, is it a fair rule and should it be reevaluated? Do you know what I mean?
That's probably a good life lesson right there as well. If it's unethical, don't do
it. Right. It's broke.
Okay,
it's funny.
Well, thank you for that.
Like a gaming ethics treatise, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm in a little bit of AP, but I think I got it. So I'm gonna play here, which if I splice it, which I'm going to do, I gain a prestige there. And so it has 3 might now. But I'm going to draw the card. It comes in exhausted. So let me draw a card here. Okay, so I did that, and I'm not going to duel because I'm not going to beat a 6 here. See, this is what's tough. Oh, now I guess here's my question. Can I duel without them having a champion, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It'll subtract from my prestige.
Which would that still negate your?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to do that because I don't want him.
Could he opt to go directly at your prestige and not your champion? Since the
No,
champion's
you have
exhausted?
when you duel, you basically select an enemy champion. My champion versus an enemy champion.
And if you have no champion to fight for you, it's you as a...
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. We actually found that in our testing that attacking, it's interesting because it's not the offensive strategy like in a regular game. We found that attacking tends to be more of a defensive mechanism. Like I'm trying to prevent you from getting to 25. So instead of, if I don't have to attack and it's not going to make my game state better, why do it? But if I'm looking over and I see that you have 5 prestige and I can prevent you from getting some more, then it becomes more advantageous. Right. Especially if you're playing against Strong Mason, just attack so he can't gain 4.
Right. And that's what it is. It's less about hurting Will at this point. It's more about keeping you from getting 4.
Absolutely.
But I guess if I didn't
doesn't take too many 4s.
Right. But if I didn't do that, I then make you have the choice of, do you attack with your champion or do you gain the 4, right? And so that is a choice in that. But 4 is a quick progression to 25. Do that.
It sure is. And more importantly for me, a 4 gets me to my 10 threshold.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Will, I'm sorry, hit you with 2. So you'll lose 2 prestige there.
That's fine. Honestly, it's fine.
But I think that is everything I can do. So, Will, it's your turn.
Sure. So refresh, draw, and let's take a look. Play Call to Arms. I recruit 2 of these guys. And only the front of your party could duel, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, you can't
I'm gonna play.
You can't have somebody in the backfield. Anyway. But I'm just asking, for future reference. The only one that is able to attack.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And so then I go up 1 point for using that, and
sorry, I misunderstood what your question was.
No, it's no problem. I think we're gonna have to do another. I'll discard another card and draw a card. Okay.
You get a point.
Yep, here's another point, and it's your turn. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to refresh my stuff. And it's at the
Oh, go ahead. You do that. You finish your turn, then I have a question for you.
Okay, so I have a hidden card that has an activated ability at the beginning of my turn. So I flip over this guy, Secret Meeting. And Secret Meeting says I have kickback and I draw a card. So that goes to my trash. So you'll get a point for that.
All right.
I will draw a card off of the Secret Meeting. And then I'll draw my card for the turn. Jeez.
Oh boy.
Let's see.
Is revealing a hidden card considered an action?
Is it considered an action? No, because putting it into play is the cost.
Okay. Right. I just didn't know how your kickback works in this situation.
In this situation, kickback allows me to get a free play as long as it's
so it essentially banks you an additional action.
Yeah. So right now I can recruit a follower or play an action, and I can play an action or a hidden card.
Right.
And yes, kickback does add up. So if we have a card called Filibuster that actually says kickback, kickback. So you play that card, you get 2 free plays.
Oh, so that allows you to play an additional action or card with hidden this turn, or another follower.
No.
Okay.
A kickback only allows you to play actions or a hidden card.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So for yikes, what do I do here? Well, I'm going to activate Sean Mason to gain a point as you guys are attacking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, keep missing it. Trying to double click on the coin, and I keep missing.
Can't you just roll up with a mouse wheel? I don't know if you have a mouse wheel.
Yeah, I can, but I find that it just zings way up. So I'm like, let's not do that. It's very sensitive. Okay, so I gained a point. I'm going to might end up wasting a kickback here. Okay, so for my kickback, wish I had more hidden stuff. I don't. You know what? I'm just gonna waste it. I'm not gonna play a kickback card. I'm actually gonna waste 2 kickbacks. I'm gonna play a Praetorian, which also gives me kickback.
Oh.
So now I have 2 kickbacks and I can't use. Which it's stinky, but it's better to get a card into play.
Praetorian 5.
So with that, I'll be finished with my turn.
Okay. I'm going to draw my card.
And I should say your kickbacks go away at the end of the turn. They don't store up.
Okay, gotcha. I figured. I just wanted to. I guess that's a good.
That would be really good.
Right.
Probably too good.
See, I need some kickback. I've got cards to play. I just give me some of that kickback.
Well, in episode 1, kickback is exclusive to console.
So
you're not going to see any kickback.
So the question that we just saw, Lord Andrew mentioned that what's the reception of the game thus far through your testing and everything? Like, what is your general consensus of play testers?
Surprisingly well. We had our original concept for the hideout was a thing called a queue. So you would have all your cards hidden, and they would, based on where they're at, sitting next to each other, they would flip over and kind of counter each other.
Okay.
And we had a lot of negative about that, and when we got rid of that and simplified it with just making the hideout as it is today, and ever since then we've had no end of good things to say. Which, I have to be honest with you, I really wish there was a little more criticism. That way we can tweak and make things better.
Yeah.
But typically, I mean, the only thing that we've really heard so far that people don't understand completely is splice. And then once they see it, it's like, gotcha.
Yeah.
And there's no more issues.
Yeah.
So we're very happy with it so far.
So are you actively calling for more playtesters, leading up to the Kickstarter? I mean, one thing the Kickstarter will do for you is it give you that extra exposure, and more people and more eyes on the game. How many, if you had to guesstimate, how many people do you have currently playtesting your game? Or have you had?
We actually put an end to episode 1 testing. We're absolutely open to outside people. And I say outside people outside of our playtest group. I'm absolutely open to anybody who wants to jump on the Tabletopia and play some games and record some I played
data points, right?
McCormick against Selena Vargas, and this is my outcome. We're very open to that. For our internal playtesting, we've actually begun playtesting episode 2.
Oh, okay, good.
Maybe that's something I should mention too, is that Age of Primes is designed as an episodic card game. So for us, what that means is that the entire game is built like a TV series. So the game, like if you saw our logo, it actually says episode 1 Firstborn, season 1. We had the game designed, I would say 75%. Episode 1, 2, and 3 are designed. Episode 2 is in testing right now. And we have conceptually finished episode 4. And we've actually gone into season 2, so we know what we want to do in episodes 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, wow.
So each time that the new edition comes out, the new episode comes out,
correct,
you'll have the 3 houses will get 3 more primes, all new cards, new neutrals. So your collection will continue to grow as the episodes go by. And a lot of times you'll find that you'll see like the same person will have a new card, and you can decide, well, do I want to play this version of Sylvester McCormick or this version of McCormick?
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
The characters change and develop as their story, their backstory develops. So,
Absolutely.
And the mechanics
you can
behind
actually
them,
take.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the mechanics behind them are based on the lore. So,
That's right.
what's happening with him right now, it's based on the story that's happening within his storyline, the things that he could do. That's I like that. I like it.
We went out of our way to make sure that the primes in general, if you look at their prime abilities and you read them one after the other, that card tells a story, and you can tell what the card is trying to do. In addition to, we changed our philosophy and the flavor text. Normal card games have flavor text. We've actually changed it to story text. So the story of episode 1, if you read all the card story text, you get the story of episode 1. And we have plans to release short stories and novellas and stuff like that tell, verbally tell the story.
Right.
But if all you ever do is open up a box of Firstborn and read all the story text on all the cards, you'll know what's going on in that episode.
That's nice. I like that too. It's built right into the gameplay.
Right. Really quick, I just wanted to talk through to make sure I didn't miss this. So I played the senior researcher here. So I want to use Selena's ability to select the Sunreach Botanist up front. And so I'm going to shift everything back to put that plant token up front.
Okay.
And since I used the splice, it's exhausted, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So
no, I'm sorry. The Sunreach Botanist is not exhausted. Just the token is.
And is that just because I've not dueled with it?
That's right. When you start your turn, everything refreshes.
Okay. So Selena's ability gives me a prestige point because I selected a card. The senior researcher gives me a prestige because I selected another card, and the Sunreach Botanist gives me a prestige because I gained a plant.
That's right.
Nice.
Okay. So
all of that just gives you 3 prestige. Jake calls it oops. Oops, I gained 1. Oops, I gained 1. Oops, I gained 1.
Right.
That's what you'll be playing Clarity, and you're just like playing cards. You're like, oops, oops, oops. Oh my god, how did I get to 11?
Right.
That's funny.
I find it interesting because I will talk about like a board presence, and from you all don't see this in my hand, but from the cards I have, yes, I could ramp maybe a single person, right, like that Lily Dandy, but like here, this didn't really add much to like strength of anything per se, but it ramped up that prestige pretty quickly. Like you were mentioning at the beginning, Chris, it was easy to go from add 11, 12 points in a turn, right? And I can see that. I do want to ask with the senior researcher that adds a might to each of my I assume that's specific followers. I don't know what that symbol.
Yeah, that's the Clarity icon. It's the icon on the top of her card.
So my Clarity followers, does that retain? So when your champion's trying to attack one of those cards, like my Botanist, right, that moves from a 2 to a 3, does that persist?
That's a static ability. So as long as she's on your table, in your party, I should say, then all your other Clarity cards gain +1 prestige. So your Botanist and what is that guy? The assistant. Right. These 2 will gain +1 might. This is neutral, so it does not gain.
Right. Okay, perfect. And then
I'm saying this. You can see my finger, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, we see.
I'm using my index finger.
The worst part about that is because I put this fodder in there to protect, I cannot duel this turn. Correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. So I that is my turn, Will. If you want to keep him from gaining 4 points, then start a duel. I guess you can fight my little plant token, but
first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip him for his ability before my turn starts. And I will need to look at what I want to maybe not. No, scratch that. Man. Okay, I'll draw first. I'll draw first. Wow. I'm going to have to do this. It sucks, but I'm going to have to. I'm playing Cold Blood and targeting your 6 dude.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're at... I couldn't see what you were at.
I was a 6. I dropped to 1 and then go back up to 2.
3.
Oh, sorry, 3 because those 2
yeah,
go.
you gain 2.
Yeah.
Now, not that this, I don't know, he might have something that does this I don't know about. Your champion flips over, right? So you have now a new champion?
Or does that happen on your turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if in this instance he had someone that could fight, that card and win, you would lose both of those cards. You can't bypass the next. If you still have a champion.
Right.
Yes.
If I use
as
that
long as there's a follower in my party, I have a champion.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna do actually. No.
Are you gonna activate McCormick?
Sacrifice a fighter. I am not going to activate McCormick either. Go ahead.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting indeed. All right. So I will refresh. And then I'm going to draw a card. All right. So I'm going to play another Praetorian. So he gives me kickback. Off of his kickback, I'm going to play Reconnaissance. Reconnaissance just says draw 2 cards.
Okay. And then I gain a point for your kickback.
And then that goes to the trash, so you'll gain a point off that.
Mm-hmm.
And then since nobody dueled, I will happily gain 4 points with Sean Mason.
Yep.
So I'll go up to 8. I'm sorry. I go from 8 up to 12.
12, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now Sean Mason's ultimate is on mine, which means all your guards gain kickback. So anytime I play a guard from here out, I gain a kickback.
Okay. Just you might want to hit 15 because Sylvester is he's looking at Praetorian. He likes the name Praetorian. So he's a fan of the name Praetorian.
Nice. All right, and I'm finished after that.
That reveals his hand, though. That doesn't affect his followers.
That's true. I thought it was the whole deck, so never mind.
Just take them all out.
I want the deck.
Oh, yeah.
I want the deck.
You get to
buff that.
Did you say you were done there, Chris?
Yes, I am. It's funny is this is actually the first time I played a 3-player game. Jake has tested multiplayer with the playtesting group,
right.
But when I was testing it, it was just one-on-one with me and Jake. So I never really looked at, for example, with the McCormick Ultimate, it's like the enemy player. That player reveals their hand. So not only do you get to see my hand, but Chris gets to see it as well. I'm like, that's not fair.
Right.
Wow, that's unfortunate, right?
And I can do that every turn. Never mind, you don't have to buff it. Because if you buffed it, I could just go through every turn and name one card every turn in your deck. Then your deck just disappears.
Oh, it's in my hand.
Yeah. They call that the McCormick Mill.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, I get to draw a card. Let's do that.
Yeah, and I will say, you don't have to worry about like pre-combat, post-combat and phases. But I apologize, I didn't get to look at the instructions and how you have them laid out. But I would say definitely lay out like pre-turn, when refreshes happen, when you can actually activate the ability of your primes, or the prime. Because could I actually activate McCormick before I draw my card?
Yes. No. You're the only phases that we actually have is the beginning phase, the mid phase, and the end phase.
Okay.
So you do your refreshing and drawing at the beginning phase. Then all the other things is middle phase.
And McCormick cannot activate during that period of time. It has to after your draw and your refresh happens. Well, obviously because McCormick has to refresh. So yeah, got it.
That's right.
Got it.
Okay, let me shift some things down here.
What do you got there?
I can't remember. He does.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it just lets me, if anything, after getting damage, I get to draw.
Got it.
So.
It's a good wall.
Yeah, I got a wall, but like that's part of it too, is that, and now my thing is I'm full here, so.
Yep, you're getting ready to experience a thing called replacement.
Well, that's if I choose to, right? Again.
Yeah.
But,
so the way replacement works is if your party is full and you decide that you want to recruit a new follower, what you do is you announce, I'm going to play this follower, and you'll select one of the followers in your party, and that one will go to the trash, and the new one will go into its place. So, like for example, it would make sense to replace your plant token. So if you want to play a new guy, you'd pick the plant token, and he would go right here. He doesn't go in front or back of the party.
Right.
Got it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna select a follower. That follower is gonna gain a might, but that doesn't necessarily matter. I'm gonna select the assistant to draw. Okay, so I gain one for the selecting. I'm going to select the assistant, which lets me splice.
Draw a card.
So I draw a card with this one.
Sure.
I should warn you too, so you don't walk into a feel bad situation. With a full party, tokens don't get created. So if you were to select the other one that generates a token,
right,
the token would not be created, so you wouldn't gain the prestige from it or get the token.
Right. But since I selected another player or a follower, excuse me, that I do gain the senior researcher, and I'm at 7 cards, so I am still at my hand limit. And I can't duel because my champion is exhausted. So again, Will, if you'd like to prevent him from gaining 4 again.
Right. I like how you're putting me in that position. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You are the sacrificial lamb.
Really appreciate that. So back to me. I will draw.
So I recognize that the game has gone 45 minutes with 3 players. I should, just to specify, typically the game is designed for 2 players. It can be played with 3 and 4 and 5, etc. players. Right. And when you play 2 players, the game is typically between 15 to 30 minutes. If you're playing 2 council decks, it's probably going to be an hour. Mm-hmm. But under normal circumstances, the game is more like a 15 to 25, 30-minute game.
Right. Well, and this is also like a rules, we're doing a lot of things with, so,
Yeah, it probably would be faster with experienced players plus.
Right. Well, and we're doing interview, right? So we're asking.
Right. There's a lot of things outside of it. And when we dig in, like when Chris and I dig in, once we get the pattern of it, we're fine. But we really want to understand like all the nuances and everything before we really start to play. So
which probably drives our producer nuts. He's over there going,
yeah, it's like I really want to go to bed.
I don't really care. So I like to make Matt work as hard as possible.
Yeah. Putting 2 more followers out.
Yikes.
There and there. And then
what you all don't hear is Matt's heckling us, and it's fine because he's just heckling.
And I'll just use this one as fodder against you. So he's coming in,
Okay.
which he will just fizzle. This one will move in place.
These all move up, right?
They do.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't keep that. Well, there's
You
no
go
follower.
right there, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make
Right.
sure.
Yeah, they all go like that.
Yeah, and then you'll gain 1 from this guy going to the trash, and then he goes back to here.
Right. And that counts as trash too, and then back into.
They sure do.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Sometimes.
the way I think about it is they kind of bounce. They hit the trash and bounce into the pile.
Right. Okay. And that back to back to you.
Okay.
Back to you, sir.
I'm so disappointed. I've been holding this thing on the first turn, waiting for the perfect opportunity to flip it, and nobody's flipping it.
It hasn't presented itself.
Is there a specific condition we have to meet?
Yeah, it's probably when we play something over
Yes.
five health or something, or 5 might, and then it'll just flip it and instantly kill it.
It says
Yay!
when your opponents play something nasty, you flip this over.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
gone instantly. That
I've
counterspell
already
trap
played I
concept.
already played like a nasty card against you though. That one that destroyed your 6 might guy. So
Yeah.
or was
Okay,
it not
let me
nasty enough? Was that not?
Well,
Are you holding it for something else?
that was nasty, but
Not enough.
okay. Let me see here. So I'm gonna do
Yeah, whatever you're gonna do, just go ahead and hit 15. That'll be great.
Yeah, I'm not upset by that. So
But you should have attacked me then. I would have had it right now.
I did attack you.
I know. I'm saying if he did not attack me, I would be at
Oh.
16 now.
Oh, I guess you're right.
All right, so I'll go ahead and gain 1.
1.
I go to 13. Yeah, make it slow for me.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, I'll accommodate you right now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play. I'm gonna play the honor guard at the. Wait, I gotta read a card real fast. No, okay. All right, so I'm gonna play the honor guard at the rear of my party.
Another 6. Yuck.
And since he's a guard, Mason's ultimate says he has kickback.
Mhm.
Off of his kickback, I'm going to play Shield Charge on my Praetorian.
Nice.
Shield Charge says select a follower. That follower gains 2 might this turn, and you gain 2 might. I'm sorry, gain 2 prestige. If that character has Guardian, it can duel as though it didn't. So this will give me 2, and it'll go to trash, so you'll get 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to 15. And he's a 7, and I'm gonna. Who am I gonna attack? Why is my guy not spinning? I can't make him turn sideways.
Could you pick him up?
Hang on, I'm fighting with Tabletopia.
Yeah, there it goes.
There it goes. Okay, he's sideways now. So I'm going to attack this guy.
Okay. But he's only at a 4, so you do not beat a 7.
Yes. But he's gonna take damage, so you'll draw 2 cards.
Yeah. So you get a prestige point there.
Yep.
Oh wait, I already get my 2. That's right. And now both of your ultimates are online because I have 15 prestige. And I'm finished.
And what does raid do again?
Raid means that if my champion attacks your champion, like right now in that last combat, my champion was a 7 might and his was a 4. Or I can't remember what the number was. Yeah, it was a 4 because of the other guy. Since I'm doing 7 to you, if I had raid, I would do 4 to that guy, and the next guy in line would take more damage.
Got it.
So in that case, he had a token behind him. So 4 would have went to the first guy, 1 would have went to the token.
Yep, I got it.
Get it?
Nasty.
So it just trickles over. Yeah. Very. Yeah, we had to make sure that we didn't go too crazy with raid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so I can select any number of characters here. If I do, those characters gain 1 might in raid. And so what does raid let me do?
Well, that we just talked about that. If you do enough damage, if you do enough damage to trump or go over the amount of his I'm sorry, the words escaping me.
Might.
Yeah, the might on his champion. the might on his champion. Then it will trickle to the next follower and keep trickling down all the way to the point where it could potentially hit his prestige.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, so if you had like which it would be insane, but if you had like a 15 might that went after this line right here, it would wipe the whole line with the exception, right? No, it wouldn't do enough to wipe all of them, but it would put a pretty nasty hurt on take two of them out and then put almost all the damage to the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some really nasty situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
15 with raid attacking is not good. Well, I guess it depends on your perspective, but
I would love that. Let's make that happen.
I would love to see that.
Okay, I'm going to play.
See, it sucks. I don't know what I have no idea. How many cards do you have in hand right now, Chris? Oh, Chris N has 4. You have 8.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Look at that. But I feel like Control is the one to shut down with Duncan or with Sylvester McCormick's mechanic.
So I am going to select the raid part.
That is not nice over there. 2 of those.
So I can select any number of friendlies.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have done this.
Oh, nice. That stacks.
I actually meant to do this. No, we're gonna do it. I do. So our producer says select. Select, and I get a prestige for everyone I do, which is true. But like Chris said, this Sunreach botanist, doesn't gain the plant tokens. I was trying to min-max, and it's not worth it. So, but
now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, so that gives you 5.
So that gives me 5 for Selena because I selected 5 different characters.
Yep.
So it takes me to 14. And then each researcher, if I select another friendly follower, I get a prestige. So for each one, I get 4. So that's 8.
Yeah.
And because I technically selected this card, I get to draw a card for Splice.
My math was off. I thought you were going to end up at 24.
Not quite. And then I have to drop down to 7 because, again, I can't place this one. So
select another friendly. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, I was close. I was very close.
Hey, you were really close.
Okay.
Well, now you're the target.
My turn. So I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna drop down, but you all go ahead. Feel free to.
Yeah. Let's see.
Which I guess, Will, you're gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4.
What did you trash?
9. I'm gonna trash 2 cards, so you're gonna get 2 points for that.
Get 2.
All right.
Yeah, so we have this metric that we keep track of called bounce back. And bounce back is typically what is the percentage of if I cross 15 first, that another player wins the game. And so right now, this would be considered a bounce back, if assuming that Chris wins.
Right.
Since I crossed 15, and if he won, it would be a bounce back game. And we're at 25% as we usually bounce back percent.
Okay. It's my turn.
Oh, you know what I could have done? I can do the dueling out of any order, correct? The duel. I can duel before. It doesn't have to be the last part of my turn, correct?
Yeah, you can duel whenever you'd like during your middle phase.
I just realized, and I should have done, but I won't do, is I could have dueled first against Will with our little tokens here, and then by selecting these, I would have gained a plant token, which would have given me 1 more point. But
yeah,
but again,
I wasn't going to tell you, but I think 2 or 3 turns ago I saw that. I'm like, I'm going to be quiet because he can get quite a bit up though.
Right. Well, this was the first turn that I think it really applied, because this was the first turn I was at max. I guess I was last turn, but I don't know if I had that plant token up there. So
yeah.
But go ahead, Will. I'm sorry. Yes, it is your turn.
Yeah. Okay. So I will draw. Yep. My engine was just not built in time. What kind of stuff does he have over there? I don't know enough about his cards. Let's just do. I'm going to go ahead and flip Sylvester, and I'm going to have Chris W. show us his cards, and I'm going to name Laboratory Assistant.
Laboratory Assistant.
Yeah.
I forget. Is there an easy way for me to show my hand in
If
Tabletopia?
you just
yeah, you can. I think you can
hold Shift and select
click.
them.
Yeah. Oh no, if you right click on it, you can click on select all, and then just drag them onto the table. Make sure you drag it off to the side so it doesn't.
Okay, I see.
Get caught in the middle of everything. There you go.
All right. So no Laboratory Assistant.
Oh, he's got Solar Flare too. Good grief.
And producer Matt, if you can look at all the wonder that is my cards, especially Solar Flare.
Yeah.
You all are hard pressed, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, what could I possibly do to prevent you from winning next time? Because even if I were to make you lose some stuff here, you could still just restock and gain 14 again.
Right, I could restart. I could put some out there, but I can also, that Solar Flare just lets me reveal my hand.
Yeah,
and that's 8 cards, or that's 7 cards.
Minus
1, yeah.
And the other thing,
but I draw at the beginning of the turn, so I'd be up to 8.
Yeah, the only thing I could do here is I could play this guy. So I'm gonna slide these down. What does he have over there? Let me just check before I do that. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The token's not going to really help him. That'll give me 2 more by doing that.
Oh man, if that guy were in play last turn, though, you could have attacked with raid.
Also, remember all of my followers that have the Clarity Ink symbol are +2 right now.
Yeah.
So that number 2 guy is a 4,
right.
not a.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. N.
Oh man, you passed to me like that?
Yeah, that's.
You didn't do anything to him.
There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do.
Okay, well, come on, harsh justice. Oh, that's not a harsh justice.
Very true.
The statement our producer said is nobody dueled, so Chris N can get 4.
That puts me at
that is true.
19. Let's see. Can you win? I can get to 19. I can get to 22. I can only get to 22. Bummer, man. Let's see. Just checking. Mason does not give my guards raid. Well, So I guess the first thing I could do is hit you with a way to scandal. So you lose 5 prestige.
Oh,
Okay, puts me down.
So that goes to the
Gain
trash.
Which will you gain a prestige?
I did.
For
I get it.
Yeah, so there's not really much I can do.
Because you'd have to
Let's go
both
ahead.
wipe the board and take out that. Like you said, there's just so many points to gain a turn.
Yeah, I could have prevented the. I can't prevent both. That's the problem. I could prevent the storms or what's the card with the picture of the storm on it?
Right, solar flare.
Solar flare. I can prevent that, but I couldn't stop Selena.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I didn't think you would have won the game immediately. Oh well. So let me just go ahead now. Gain my 4. Puts me at 19. And then I'll be finished.
You are finished.
I am finished.
Okay,
Yep.
so
Do your
this was
worst.
a question earlier, and I just asking. So as soon as I draw exceed my hand limit, do I have to go down, or is it at
No.
Okay.
At the end of your turn.
So I have. Oh, okay. Sorry, it's a hidden card. That's new to me. So the solar flare, which gives Will a point, lets me reveal of my hand any number of cards, and so I'm going to reveal my entire hand, which would give me 7 more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to exhaust
Selena
and get 8 more from.
So it's not a physical ramp, it's a point ramp on that on clarity.
Well, it can be both, because the solar flare you just see there, when there's a card in his deck that's called Perilous Spy, and the Perilous Spy says you have no hand limit. So with Elaine Cochran, you get your 1 card draw per turn, and then he gives you a card per turn. Okay. So with him and the what's that, like, there's another card in there, like Moment of Brilliance, I think it's called, where it lets you just draw 3 cards. Yeah, so there's been times that I've cast already too. I think. Yeah, I've probably gained at least 12, I would say, off the solar flare before.
Right.
Well, if I would have played that, Vagrant last turn, or the Perilous Spy, I would have been able to keep that hand limit. I was already at 9, so that would have, ramped that up. But again, versus the Senior Researcher, which is that. So
right. Oh, I had to. Let's see. The problem I ran into on my end was that I had to play these cards here to get my number up, because I was going. It was like a 2-prong thing. I was planning like this. Well, this was going to be the final blow, but but this was this guy. Well, the guy I was playing next turn. What I was going to play this, which was going to allow me to select my champion, which is at 5, and then I look at the top of the deck for that number of cards. I get to draw 2 of them and then trash the rest. So I'd get 3 points right off the bat. Well, 4 points, because I'd be trashing that as well. And then he would have Raid coming in to attack Chris W. And he would be at what is that? 5 Raid. So that would be 1. That would take these 2. They would just take those 2 out, wouldn't it?
Well, the thing to remember about the Sly intuition, it says up to. And the reason it says up to is it's based off of Sly, and Sly wants to discard cards. So you can technically draw up the 5 cards and discard all 5, plus the intuition to gain 6.
Draw up to 2. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Now, with that ginger hind you were showing, that's what this was for.
Oh, see, there we go. So there's your answer. You may reveal, detain in your hideout, and perform it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see an opportunity to really get her out until I filled up my board, and I was waiting for Max.
Yeah.
And then let me read that again. After an enemy player recruits a follower, you may reveal a detain in your hideout and perform it.
Yeah. Make you play it again a
follower.
second time.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. So you had an answer for that. This guy just sort of sat around. I could have played him earlier, but I didn't really. No, it was mainly because the glory is only 1 coin. He deals damage, right?
No, he's actually really good at wherever he deals damage. You gain that much prestige.
Oh, okay.
So if he does 3 damage or does 5 damage, you gain that much prestige.
I think I misread it because I mean I was reading it over here. No, where was it? Yeah, I was reading it someplace. Yeah, I guess I misread it on that one, and because it's the same word. Because when I first looked at it, I thought it was just like every time he deals damage, aka 1 point per time he just enters combat and does damage, not for every point of damage he produces.
Yeah, we actually had to nerf Glory. Glory originally it was no matter whose turn it was, you got the prestige. But yeah, it was too good, and it was actually killing Clarity because Clarity doesn't have as much removal as Council does. So Clarity was just like, I can't attack into that. So what am I supposed to do about it?
Well,
okay, so now
my hands were kind of tied too because you had strength on your side. So if I put out this guy on my turn, and you had enough guys to come right at me, you'd be able to take that guy out, and I wouldn't get any glory for it. So that's why I didn't want to waste a turn putting him out. Chris, honestly, his ramp came up like instantly, like you said.
Exactly.
So I didn't know what he had in his hand, so I had no idea that it would ramp the way it was going to ramp in that turn.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was watching you with this detain the whole time because I had to detain. I could have been putting some of the stuff back in his hand.
And that's the funny thing was
I'm doing the same thing you are.
Yeah, I was paying attention to your board and not even paying attention to what Chris was doing over here. And then all of a sudden, Chris is like, "Oh yeah, I got 14 points in 1 turn. Oh, cool."
I don't think I quite realized that. I didn't think another senior researcher was going to come back out. So I had some of these like heightened reflexes I was going to play to like protect some of these cards and things like that. But all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, and I just got this Spore Burst, so I could do like a take out one of your alls, right? Like Praetorians or something big in front. But I didn't know it was going to happen.
I was digging for a while looking for like a burst card or blast card.
Some blood's good. Yeah, the one that you didn't see when you were asking about raid earlier, I thought for sure that you had Midnight Raid in your hand, and I was like, oh man, he's gonna pop off my champion and get in here. But then
no. So yeah, just to point out, I mean, Chris Newton, you came in here, thinking you were going to destroy us here. So what are your thoughts on how this turned out? I came in hot like as a distraction piece,
Which is typically
I was totally distracted.
And this is exactly what happens. Like this every time we play, like I come in super aggressive, and everybody looks at me, and then Chris just like cries for a little while in the corner, like please don't attack me, please. Will's so much more dangerous than me, and everybody falls for it. He plays the perfect hedgehog.
Well, I'll say this: I had the perfect hand in a limited capacity to win in a 2-person game because you see all the guards I have, and I do have some pinpoint removal in my hand, but I didn't have enough to spread between 2 players. And I'm looking at the clarity stuff. I'm like, all those little ones aren't going to be hurting me. And then we put the senior researcher out. I'm like, oh man. He's making his 1/2s.
Like we can deal with that. Yeah,
it's still not going to add up. What's he going to do? He's going to make a token. Okay, super. And then it's like, oh, boy, I should have paid attention to all that.
Well, I find it interesting that you front of your party or back of your party, because why I put this, I had a Sunreach botanist that let me draw if it was damaged, right, and then I had this botanist that let me recruit a token. So I was able to put those fodder pieces out so that like I protected this back half of my let me essentially have an infinite draw card and and the ability to always select and get prestige. So I was like, okay,
Right.
cool. If I can protect those, you all can only attack typically once or twice a turn unless you have, raid or something. And,
Yeah.
so being able to just say, oh, okay, well, like if I put enough on this stuff at the back, that's why I just threw it. Was nice because I could say, oh, I didn't have to put the researcher up front. I can put the second researcher in the back. Even if you somehow got to that first one, I still had a second. So,
and the funny thing is as you become more experienced, and that's one thing I love about games like this, is as you become more experienced within the realm specifically of this game, you start to do crunch numbers in your head of like card distributions and the average card distributions of like certain deck builds, and like you talk about meta analysis, metagame analysis is what sort of starts to churn into games like this. You mentioned episodes. Your first Kickstarter, is it just going to be episode 1?
Yes.
Okay, and so essentially your plan is get it out in Kickstarter, get this thing funded. Let's see how much we set the world on fire with episode 1, and then depending on that and distribution and all the other pains that go along with fulfillment on Kickstarter after you run one, then it's like, okay, now so I guess in your head after you run episode 1, how much early would you like to, or how would you like to roll out episode 2, like in period of time wise?
Yeah. That's my default answer is that's up in the air. We don't really know. But
of course, yeah.
If I were to put my gut into it, what I really want to do is so I have two minds on this.
Yes.
Obviously in the business perspective, I want to release as often as possible to maximize my revenue. On the other hand, I know and I recognize I have a small team, and you actually were pretty accurate on our the way we look at it. I suppose we're not doing this for trying to set the world on fire and make a whole goblet of money and do this in the business world. We started this off as a hobby, and it's a passion that we've been doing. So for us, it's more than just a card game. It's also the story. It's everything involved. So it's not so much that we want to release a whole bunch of cards. We want to do it right. And I don't want to just expand my team and scale up really, really fast just to get product out. I want to make sure that the people I do bring on that are going to help me out are just as passionate. They're going to be just as vested as my current team. And I want to make sure that we do it right. So if that means that I can only release 2 episodes a year, then that's where I'm at. If I don't grow my team at all, it will be probably 2 per year. But I will say that we have, what we want to do is in between our releases, we want to do what we call premium packs, or like promo packs kind of. And what we want to do with that is we want to release collectibles. So for example, like say we pick 9 cards, something like that, and we'll provide alternate art, foils. Maybe we'll have a card that doesn't have any text on there, so you just get that, like how Magic does with the all art, just with the name and all art. Like that.
Right.
So offer some collectibles between the episodes, and we also want to do what I think Jake is calling it a promo pack. It's almost like a spoiler type thing. So going into episode 2, you want to release a pack that has 1 card from episode 2. So you're able to actually play that card before it's released, and you get to see, here's a new mechanic from episode 2. Oh, cool! It's got this. Now you can think about what episodes 2 like.
Right.
How's this mechanic going to work in? You can get the juices flowing in that.
Right. So theoretically, at this point, Kickstarter 1, depending on how everything works out for you guys, where do you go from there? Essentially, you want to hit a distribution cycle where after X amount of months, you're releasing a new episode, or X amount of like 1 year, maybe once a year, whatever your plan is. But there'll be a time period where you're sort of like easing people into the newer episodes, and they have time to really relish and enjoy the episode that's currently playing or out.
Yes,
because I think that's important.
And I want to add too that with the episodes themselves, each episode, I want people to enjoy it, and I never want to believe that that the primary publishing is trying to be money grabbing. We want to make sure that an episode comes out, and we want you to not only enjoy the card game but the story itself. And like I said, we want to do Some people have asked us to do graphic novels, which I think is a wonderful idea. We have a great universe for that. If I can do some short stories, put stories on the website, things like that. I want people to enjoy each episode for the duration and not just say, great, I've got the card for episode 1. Where's episode 2 at?
Right.
I want people to walk with me through that time period and enjoy the entirety of it.
Right.
And then when you get to episode 2, nail it.
Right. When you talked about that lore piece, right? And that's huge, right? You're building not just I go back to, I'm a video game guy. And so one of the things that it's hard for me is when they have these like open loose threads. And I think that what you are doing with all this potentially additional content is closing some of those threads, right? Okay, cool. That's a really cool idea why, the council has this concept of guards and the ability guardian, but like what, it's a control deck, but outside of you playing that, faction a lot, how would you know that, right? And some of that lore really maybe reinforces, that's why kickback is a thing, or that's why guardian is a thing. That's why, these primes are these integral into the spot, is because the lore helped reinforce that, instead of, I can kind of assume that, but I love the little flavor text on the cards like you talked about, but it's just enough to get me intrigued, and I'm ready to see, even if it is a small web comic or a couple issue story arc that comes out with each season or episode, that is phenomenal. So that lore, and again, we talked about that earlier with Will, that's what keeps people excited and engaged, and like you said, keeps them along for the story, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So like right now with our theme month that's going on, I think it was Monday, we released our first true short story, and it's a story that involves Sylvester McCormick. And the way we came up with the word prime for Age of Primes and the card primes is we wanted to make sure that the story that we're telling, we can tell the same story from multiple perspectives, and provide different details and different depths of details based on whether I saw if you and I both see the same event, I'm going to see something you didn't see. And based on seeing both of our perspectives, we can get a much deeper story. And what we want to be able to do is tell several stories like that, where, like for example, with the Sly McCormick that's on there right now, you can actually check out on the website. Our first story is up there. You can see from his perspective, the story is not really driving plot line, but it's giving you detail about who he is, what his, how he operates, how he, where's his place in his world. Like I said, it doesn't really drive the Ren story or the entire Age of Prime story, but it certainly gives you some more insight into how McCormick operates. And as the story goes on, as the theme month goes on, you'll see a few more stories. You'll see more about lore building. You'll see design notes. I had Jake go through and do some stories about how he came up with some of the game mechanics, and it's just important for us that we want to be transparent and have our people who follow us enjoy the game, enjoy the design of the game, and enjoy playing the game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it seems a common trend, and I think it's an emerging trend that's sort of happening naturally within the board game realm at this point. But there's a lot of IP development that's been sort of stewing behind the scenes for, in your case, 9 years. But we talk to a lot of designers now that they'll say, we've been working on this for 5 years or 6 years. And I know there are some board games that developed that, but usually the result is just that game. But you're seeing a lot of creators now, a lot of developers and designers that are taking the idea of the idea of the board game industry, which is like, let's shove out a bunch of themed cardboard boxes and space theme, whatever 1800 theme, and just stay with that. And then a theme hits and a theme misses, that kind of thing. A lot of new designers and developers are actually building their own house. They're building their own house, which has its own lore system. Yeah. It's basically what you would call IP cultivating or IP developing, rather than just developing board games. They're developing their own IPs. And I think the funny thing is, awesome. The reason it's happening is, I think influencers within the video game industry, like Blizzard, borrowing from Gygax and from the really trailblaze guys like Games Workshop in the early years of these massive lore games are now, indie people are starting to realize, hey, I actually now, with what's available to us, the resources available to us as an independent designer or developer, we can do this. We can do our own IP development. And rather than just pushing out, hey, here's a space theme, here is a space opera. This is this is an original story that I'm going to introduce to you these amazing characters that you can sort of, through playing our game and through reading our novellas and through reading our graphic novels, you can now live in our system, our game system.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really, really exciting, board games, to be involved in board games, in the past 3 years has been an exciting thing to begin with. But now where this journey is starting to take place or to move, I think it's even more exciting time. I think it's going to be difficult for people to budget times for all of these different universes that are being created. And I think that's going to be a challenge for both the players and for the designers, because, but it's also awesome. Like, if I get bored of one game storyline, I could be like, oh, you know what? I was really happy with the vanilla version of their story, but you know what? I jumped ship and I went over to so and so's lore system.
Yeah.
And we're moving into a board game. It's a board game renaissance already, but we're moving into this whole new amalgamation of digital with cardboard, and all of it's being smashed together into this massive nebulae of lore. And I think it's an exciting time to be a creator in this period of time, and I think it's an exciting time to be a player in this period of time because of what is on the horizon for us. What are your thoughts on that? I know there's a long spiel, but
that was a lot.
Lead into all of that.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. Like I said earlier, I used to have a game review website, so I absolutely know what you're talking about in terms of there's a lot of games that have come out that this is my version of this, and that's not it. It's fun. I mean, yeah, I can go blow some castles up. That's fun. But after the 55th castle I blow up, how many more castles can I blow up? What I will say about the IP building, we didn't think about that when we went into this. We also had no idea how much working, how much lifting, we didn't know how much was involved in creating our own thing. And Jake and I have talked about this before, where if we knew today, if we knew what we knew today 9 years ago, we would not have done this. And that's hard to swallow at this point, only because it took so long to get here. And like I've said, we want to do it right. Yeah. But there's so much that goes into developing your own IP. And if you're a large company that has the funds to be having, I don't even know how big of a company you would need to develop something like this in a reasonable amount of time. My team usually floated around between 4 and 6 people, and it took us all to get here. So I don't know if I really answered your question or not.
No,
but,
but I think what you're saying is that you didn't go in with the intention of the IP development. But again, I think
that's right.
I think a lot of creators are realizing that is the path to really incorporating the community. And gaming now used to just be something you did with your families on a weekend, or it used to be something that you did with your friends on a weekend, or when you had free time. And with the nature of entertainment in our lifetimes, for better or worse, it's becoming a lifestyle. And when that enters the arena, people are looking for games that take them beyond entertainment, that give them the escape beyond just the 5 minute to 30 minute or 1 hour. They want a 6 hour session. They want an entire weekend to take them away from other things that are happening in their lives. Right. and I mean, like I said, for better or worse in that situation, but it's upon us. Entertainment. If you look at some of the great science fiction novelists of the past, I think that this was something that was foretold, in that as technology becomes a larger part of our lives, we're looking for things to fill that extra void that the technology is sort of, because I mean, manual labor used to
Absolutely.
have to be out on the doing all those things manually. Now we have technology that does it all for us. And I think we as a society are grappling, and this is going a little bit deep, but we as a society are grappling with the fact that we all are going to eventually have more entertainment time on our hands, where and granted, there's an opposite chart to go against it, saying that we have longer work weeks and everything like that. But I think that's all an illusion. The reality is that the technology is taking away a lot of the physical aspects of what we do, and it does give us more entertainment time. And our perceived busyness is more in the things that we're doing outside of work than actually work, right? I think we can all sort of agree on that too.
Right.
It's funny that we're talking about Age of Primes with this, because that's pretty key to the story here. Because I developed a sci-fi game it's basically what happens if you strip away the technology of a futuristic society. Right. And these people are struggling with, while I was on this ship coming over to this planet, I had no ends of free time, and now all my technology is going away. What do you mean I have to sling a sledgehammer? What do I have to do? What do you mean? So it's interesting to have the conversation would go that way.
Right. And I think that's another great example of, I always talk about like the underbelly, of the collective consciousness. I think is what ends up happening with any creative force, gaming, music, movies, television. It's that unspoken collective conscious that sort of, we're not saying it to each other, but through our creative routes, we're sharing the story of where we see our future. And you see it in a lot of the themes of games that are out now. You see it in a lot of movies and television that, either the post-apocalyptic or, what life would be with, like, if it were just 100 years ago. You know what I mean? And because the funny thing is that's almost become a horror story, where the way we used to live is not a real way of living, which I think is opposite of what reality is. But again, I think I'm going too deep into the psychological rabbit hole at this point for you guys, or not the philosophical rabbit hole. The reality is I love what you're doing with your team here. I love the game itself. I think the mechanics are really hashed out, like we talked about earlier, and I'm excited to see this on Kickstarter. Which, again, you're hoping the first week of October, correct?
That's right.
And until then, anybody who's watching this now, or anybody who watches this during the Kickstarter campaign, please, I beg you guys to check out the website. Chris is doing great things with that website, spending a lot of time and resources. I could tell by the way you're designing it, Chris. So please take a look at that. Watch the stories. Watch the Age of Prime story develop as you play the game. It's going to be available here on Tabletopia, and then maybe with some luck, Chris and I can work together and get it available on Tabletop Sim. Maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. And please join us on our Geek Spiel Discord, and also on Chris's Discord, to find people to play this game with, and help we grow our already growing community. Chris, I want to thank you again for being here with us tonight. It was a pleasure.
You, Chris, a lot.
Thank you guys for inviting me. I mean, my team was very excited to be able to jump up here and play the game with you guys and see how you like it.
Awesome. Chris Walters, thank you for beating me over so swiftly again.
It's not, I like to highlight that these aren't easy. Like, I don't know if you all noticed, but I sit here for 13 minutes while Will's doing an interview, and both Will and Chris are distracted by answering and asking questions, and I'm just here like number crunching, going, okay, cool, I get to do this, and, all the things. So I win because Will is a distraction.
He's prepared.
So,
I will say though, based on the play testing that we've done with strangers and everything, you guys did a very good job of picking the game up at a very fast pace. Usually I don't let the people win, But
oh wow, is
and I
that
didn't do this time either.
Oh,
he
you
slipped-
let us win?
Yeah, he definitely just pulled the game out of nowhere. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that typically I try to streamroll through the game so that I can get to the next game, because the second game is when the person starts to put
That's
things
true.
together.
Right.
You guys put things together right away in the first game, so that's all I'm trying to.
I
I'm trying to get
Yeah,
come out the wrong way. But
we appreciate that, and because again, I think one of the hopes is that by playing these games at somewhat of a level, we want to make sure that folks actually see what the gameplay is like, not see us struggle for 3 hours being like, okay, I didn't really highlight, pick up any of the mechanics.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But again, we're going to sign out. But again, I want to thank you guys very much. Thank you for everybody who viewed our video live tonight on Twitch. And thanks to any future viewers on YouTube for Geek Spiel. This is Will Esgro from also Happy Fun Time Live on Twitch. Signing off for the night. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you all. Have a nice night.